GoGuardian is installed on school laptops across America, monitoring roughly 27 million children. But bigger isn't always better. Indeed, from everything I've found, GoGuardian is one of the most invasive pieces of software ever deployed against minors. For those who don't know, GoGuardian is a web filter installed on school laptops that decides what students can and can't access online. And the things it blocks are genuinely unbelievable. One student commented, "My school blocked the word butterfly because it contained butt." But it goes beyond ridiculous, it punishes kids for being curious. Another student wrote, "I got in trouble in school today for searching up when will I die. I wanted to get an estimated date on when I could die based on my overall health. I got sent down to the guidance counsellor for searching that, and I repeatedly had to explain my reasoning for searching that up. Even then, my parents still got a message that made my mother cry, and then sent a hotline crisis to them." Yeah, GoGuardian doesn't really get context, does it? Now, I'm British. I never had GoGuardian. What I had was SmoothWall, the UK equivalent, used in about a third of our schools. I remember it vaguely from my school days as just this annoying thing that got in the way of trying to play miniclip or cool math games. I figured it was just a basic filter. It wasn't. But we'll come to that.
Spoilers.
But here's what makes my perspective different. I haven't just been the kid being watched, I've been the teacher doing the watching. Hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into EdTech tools. Thank you. Back to the video. When I taught English as a foreign language abroad, I had GoGuardian on my teacher dashboard. I could see every student's screen in real time. I could close their tabs, lock their devices, push websites to their browsers. And it made me deeply uncomfortable. Having that much power over a kid's digital life felt wrong in a way that I couldn't probably articulate at the time. Now, having done the research, I can articulate it. Before we get started, credit where credit is due. This video was inspired by a YouTuber called Shrink, whose video GoGuardian is a problem absolutely nails the student experience. He said something that stuck with me.
Sites like GoGuardian are highly invasive and anxiety-inducing. They make you feel more like a prisoner than a student.
500,000 people watched that video. A generation is screaming. But seriously, go watch Shrink's video after this one and let's get started. Part 1. What GoGuardian actually does. GoGuardian is a suite of tools used in over 10,000 American schools. At its core, it's a web filter. It blocks websites that schools deem inappropriate. And fair enough, you might think. Schools probably should stop kids from accessing dodgy stuff on school computers. But GoGuardian goes far, far beyond blocking websites. Every single URL a student visits is logged. The host name, the time spent, the date, stored for up to 6 months, even if the student deletes their browser history. You can clear your history and it doesn't matter. The school has it anyway. Admins can search any student's entire browsing history, Google Docs activity, and app usage at the click of a button. Teachers get a live dashboard showing thumbnails of every student's screen. They can remotely close your tabs, push websites to your browsers, lock your screen with a custom message you can't dismiss. This one got me. Set a maximum number of tabs you're even allowed to have open. Your teacher can literally decide how many tabs are too many, with about 40 open right now. If someone closed them all, I'd have a breakdown. Then there's Beacon, GoGuardian's AI layer. Beacon scans what students type across search engines, Gmail, AI chat platforms, social media, and messaging tools to detect risk indicators. Each flagged alert includes the student's name, email, IP address, and every flagged term. It can even track location through GPS. And here's a fun bit of history. Until October 2015, GoGuardian could log every keystroke and remotely activate students' webcams. They quietly removed these features. But the fact that they were ever there should tell you everything about the philosophy behind this software. And here's the detail which changes everything. On school-managed devices, GoGuardian doesn't just work at school. It works on any network. Home Wi-Fi, public hotspots, your nan's house at Christmas. By default, it monitors 24/7. Schools have to manually enable an out-of-school mode to restrict this, but it's disabled by default. Unless someone actively turns it off, school day rules apply around the clock. On a school Chromebook, there is no off switch. Are you starting to see the problem? Part 2. what the students are saying. GoGuardian has a 1.2 star rating on Trustpilot from 364 reviews, and 1.1 stars on Smart Customer from 143 reviews, 94% giving it the lowest possible score. That makes it one of the lowest rated software products on the entire internet. The reviews are almost entirely written by students, and their words are more powerful than anything I could write. On home surveillance, one student on Smart Computer wrote, "You can't have your damn privacy. I was hopping on my computer to play games after school while my teacher was able to monitor me from Nicaragua or something." And then there's this one, written on Thanksgiving break 2023, in the comments of a school newspaper. "I am currently being watched, even though I am at home during Thanksgiving break. I hope the person monitoring this is able to read what I am saying." The same student continued, "Restricting us makes it feel like we are pigs in a pen." They explained that their family couldn't afford a personal laptop. Their school Chromebook was their only device, and it was being watched at home on a holiday all the time. They added, "I used to chat with my friends on my Chromebook, which would help my mental and social health. Now I feel isolated." The NYCLU put it plainly, "These invasive capabilities are more likely to impact low-income students of color, whose families often rely upon these devices disproportionately. Privacy becomes a luxury. If your family can afford a personal laptop, you're free. If they can't, you're surveilled." How is that acceptable? Students have launched at least 8 petitions to ban GoGuardian. GoGuardian got teachers thinking they the FBI, watching every tap like we plotting a cyber attack. Bro, I just want to look up cool math games without the whole school district getting a notification. This is digital oppression for real, another declared. "Down with GoGuardian, up with freedom. We are in our resistance arc. No more random tab closings. No more teachers spying like it's the Cold War." You could dismiss this as just kids being dramatic. But when a 3rd grader writes, "I'm in 3rd grade and I'm lucky I could write this," on a school newspaper comment section about surveillance software, I don't think that's drama. I think that's a child who understands instinctively that something is wrong. Smash like if GoGuardian or any other school filtering software actually blocked something that you needed. Part 3. The Overblocking Problem. GoGuardian routinely blocks the very educational content that teachers have assigned students to use. The software designed to keep kids focused on schoolwork actively prevents the kids from doing schoolwork. You couldn't make it up. One student on Trustpilot wrote, "GoGuardian has blocked almost every single video on YouTube. I can't even study for my final exam." Another said, "GoGuardian is so strict. I can't even go on YouTube to listen to an audiobook that we are reading in reading class." A student on the top 10s reported that their teacher told the class to go to brainpop.com, an explicitly educational site, and it was blocked. Another student's teacher hosted a game on Blue Cat. GoGuardian blocked it, and when the students asked the principal said it was inappropriate. Blue Cat. Inappropriate. Right. Sarcasm is the lowest form of wit. Anyway, here's one that made my jaw drop. A school principal described how students researching World War II would trigger GoGuardian security alerts because their research contained the word gun. If you're talking about World War II and you mention the word gun, I now get an alert and I have to flag you. We don't have a choice. We have to do a threat assessment. So, history research leads to a mandatory threat assessment on a child. GoGuardian's really working out, isn't it? Perhaps the most bitterly ironic review came from a student on Trustpilot. "I also find it really interesting that I can't play Flappy Bird, but for some reason, I'm still able to play a September 11th parody of Flappy Bird. I'm telling you, these filtering systems are broken," an assistant principal told a school newspaper. "I don't understand why cool math games would be blocked, and yet you can still access some pretty explicit stuff. When even administrators are baffled by their own software, something is fundamentally broken." GoGuardian was actually investigated by the Electronic Frontier Foundation in October 2023, and they confirmed everything that the students were saying. In their words, "By design, GoGuardian is a red flag machine. Its false positives heavily outweigh its ability to accurately determine whether the content of a site is harmful." Part 4. The teachers are split. Here's where it gets complicated, because teachers aren't united on this. Some of them want GoGuardian to do even more, and I mean significantly more. On Capterra, a teacher review platform, one teacher complained that what they dislike most about GoGuardian is that it lets students know when the teachers turn it on. When students see they're being watched, they change the page, so the teacher can't catch what they were actually doing. They want covert monitoring, the ability to watch students without them knowing. On Software Advice, another teacher described being able to aggressively monitor students' academic growth through GoGuardian and called it an amazing program. And a technology integration specialist featured on GoGuardian's own blog described their AI-powered off-task alerts as like having an assistant, one that could detect when a student appeared to be working productively in a Google Doc, but was actually chatting about video games. AI reading the content of what a child is typing to detect if it's genuine enough. That's the frontier these teachers want. But there's another side, and it's a side I found myself when I was teaching, because with that kind of access, you can know too much. It's kind of like reading someone else's diary. You see things that were never meant for you. Personal searches, private conversations, moments that have nothing to do with school, and it makes you feel icky. Now, I won't share any specific stories from my time teaching because I want to protect my students' privacy, which is sort of the point of this whole video. But I understood instinctively that something about this whole system was wrong. And get this. A public school teacher attended a GoGuardian training session where the presenters opened a live classroom, and several students were there online, using their computers from home, even though it wasn't a school day. Over 90 staff members could see what these kids were doing in real time. As this teacher wrote, if someone can monitor a student's activities on any device at any time, then someone will monitor their activities on any device at any time. He refused to use GoGuardian after that session. Another teacher posted that their school had reprimanded them for not using GoGuardian. They wrote, I told my students it's a gross invasion of privacy for anyone but your parents. They described the school environment as a police state and the broader culture as digital fascism, adding, every year it seems I have to sell more of my soul to digital fascism to keep my job. A teacher saying they have to sell their soul because they refuse to spy on children. In the words of this school technology coordinator, when teachers use technology to monitor behavior, students can come to believe that school is merely a pattern of compliance rather than the development of a love of learning. She also pointed out that using GoGuardian tied teachers to their desks watching dashboards rather than walking around the classroom interacting with students, reducing the amount of time spent on instruction and student assistance. As someone that taught English abroad, this hit me hard. The best teaching of English I ever did was walking around the classroom, talking to kids, not staring at tiny screens. Part 5. SmoothWall. It's worse than I remembered. So, while researching GoGuardian, I naturally started wondering about what we have back home. SmoothWall, the UK's dominant school monitoring software used in roughly a third of our schools. I remembered it as a basic web filter, nothing too sinister, just the thing that got me caught playing Free Kick Fusion during IT. But I was completely wrong, and honestly, finding this out kind of felt like a betrayal. I sat in front of SmoothWall for years as a kid. I typed things into school computers. Daft things, personal things, the kind of stuff you type when you're 14 and think nobody's watching. Turns out, somebody might have been. SmoothWall captures all keystrokes entered, including text that students delete and text before it's encrypted. If you type something, think better of it, and delete it, SmoothWall already has it. When risk triggers are detected, it takes full screenshots. It continuously builds behavioral profiles of every user, and it monitors offline. When a student takes a school device home without internet, the software keeps capturing data in the background, then uploads everything to SmoothWall's moderation team the moment a connection is re-established. That's worse than GoGuardian, by the way. GoGuardian doesn't even do that. Indeed, the default operating mode is 24/7, 365 days a year. Schools can disable after-school monitoring, but it's enabled by default. And SmoothWall explicitly acknowledges that it cannot promise to avoid capture of information unrelated to identified concerns such as personal data. They're telling you in their own documentation that they will hoover up personal data and that there's nothing they could do about it. Defend Digital Me found that 70% of English schools use web monitoring software, but fewer than a third of parents know. None of the 400 school policies they reviewed explained how keyword flags actually work. Dr. Sandra Leeton-Gray of University College London warned that these systems normalise quite extreme authoritarian approaches to discipline in schools. And it's strange because the UK has stronger legal framework than the US does, but it doesn't seem to matter. It's actually produced a stronger set of legal guardrails around a tool that, in several dimensions, collects more data than GoGuardian does. We've got better laws and arguably worse software. Seriously though, that's not a comfortable thing to admit about your own country. But I'd rather be honest with you than pretend we've got it sorted. Part 6. The case for filtering and why this isn't it. Now, I want to be clear about something, because I think it's important and I don't want anyone to misunderstand my position. I'm not arguing that schools shouldn't filter the internet. They absolutely should. The evidence is overwhelming. In Ofcom's 2024 study, every single one of 247 children interviewed had encountered violent content online. 1 in 5 children aged 10 to 15 experienced cyberbullying, and 72% of those who did said at least some of it happened at school. Kids need protecting online. Everyone agrees with that, and schools are legally required to filter. In the UK, under Keeping Children Safe in Education, and in the US, under the Children's Internet Protection Act. You wouldn't hand a child the keys to a car without supervision, so you shouldn't hand them an unfiltered internet connection either. But here's where I really need you to pay attention, because there's a world of difference between what I actually described and what GoGuardian actually does. Let me put it like this. Filtering is a seatbelt. GoGuardian, on the other hand, is a tracking device bolted to every seat that records where you drive, who you talk to, and what you search. Even when you're parked in your driveway on a bank holiday, a seatbelt keeps you safe, a tracking device watches you. The ACLU's 2023 report found that the edtech surveillance industry, now valued at $3.1 billion, deliberately whips up fear around tragic, albeit uncommon events such as school shootings and suicides in order to drive demand for their products. $3.1 billion. And no independent study has even found that it makes students safer. Indeed, a comprehensive RAND study concluded that AI monitoring of this kind may cause more harm than good. A computer scientist called the notion that algorithms can protect at-risk students fundamentally dubious. In his words, it's snake oil. This is an industry built on fear, selling something that doesn't work. Shrink put it perfectly in his video.
All this teaches is autonomy. It teaches you to be obedient and a model student, or rather a worker.
The Center for Democracy and Technology found that 6 in 10 students don't feel comfortable expressing their true thoughts when monitored. More than half don't share their true ideas. Up to 80% are more careful about what they search for. We are producing kids who have learned how to self-censor. Is this what we want education to be? A law professor wrote in the Stanford Law Review. Students are now under continuous surveillance by public schools and companies in ways that adults would reject. And she's right. No adult workplace deploys systems that screenshot employees' screens, flag their Google searches, generate undeletable incident reports based on key matches, and extend monitoring into their homes on evenings and weekends. We would simply never accept this for ourselves. Yet, this is what millions of children experience every day. Let me know in the comments. Would you accept this level of monitoring at your school or at your workplace? But maybe you're different. Again, comment below. Part 7. So, what now? look, I've been on both sides of this. I've been the student messing around on school computers, vaguely aware that someone somewhere could probably see what I was doing, but not really caring because I was a kid, and that's just not something that kids should have to think about. And on the other side, I've been the teacher with a dashboard showing me exactly what every child was looking at. I could see something on a student's screen that was clearly personal, clearly none of my business. And I thought, I shouldn't be seeing this. That feeling never went away. And now, having read through hundreds of student testimonies, I know that feeling was 100% correct. GoGuardian and systems like it have turned classrooms into something like a surveillance state. And look, teachers mean well, and filtering is necessary. But we gave an industry worth billions unchecked access to 27 million children's digital lives, and didn't ask nearly enough questions about what they were doing with it. The CDT's Director of Equity in Civic Technology said, "Youth are being primed to accept surveillance as an inevitable reality, and the students themselves know it." Writing for the ACLU of New Jersey, student researchers stated, "These practices make us, and many others our age, desensitized to the idea of mass surveillance." 27 million children. I mean, that's what we're talking about here. 27 million kids being monitored at home, at school, on holidays. Their searches logged, their screens watched, even their deleted keystrokes captured, and we just let it happen. We're teaching children that being watched is normal. That if you've got nothing to hide, you've got nothing to worry about. We're calling that education when, in my head, it sounds a lot more like conditioning. So yeah, your school should really ban GoGuardian. Let me know in the comments, what's your experience been with school monitoring software? Whether that's GoGuardian, SmoothWall, Securely, or anything else. I want to hear your stories. And who knows, maybe they'll make it into their next Snipe Snap video. Thank you so much for watching my video. Smash that like button if you made it to the end. Snipe, Snap, out.